All right, guys, my name is Dr. Shornell Wolverton Sehan, and I am co-host with Craig Walker here today for Dr. Shornell True TV. And we are really, really excited today to have a guest, Gary, with us. And we're going to talk about some fun things today. I was actually on his show, like a month or two ago.
Yeah, it was about a month ago.
Time flies. And we got to talking about a lot of different things, and I was so excited. I was like, you know what? I got to have this guy on our show. He's got to meet, and we're gonna have some deep dive talks today about timelines, about manifestation, about spirituality, and um, welcome to the show, and good to see you again. You got anything to say, Craig, before we get going?
I think I got that, Sean. You are breaking up a bit, but you said that your internet's a bit dodgy today. Did you say?
Yes, we had
Yeah,
a snowstorm. Can you guys hear me?
yeah, it was breaking up a bit there,
Yeah,
but I
you're
think
just breaking up a little bit.
yeah, I think I got you. But yeah, I'm doing good. All's well here. Weather's bad here in the UK. I'm not sure where you are um, up there, but what the weather's like, should I say? But no, all's well. This is a topic I absolutely love, and I'm curious to hear what people have got to say about it. So yeah, let's crack on.
Great. And thank you guys for having me on. It's a pleasure being here. And I know it's always a little bit intimidating being on the other side of the mic. I'm used to doing the interviews, not answering the questions.
Well, tell us a little bit about your. I know you have a podcast. How did you get into the whole like vein of spirituality and deep what?
Yeah, unfortunately, I missed a part of your question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tell us a little bit about how you got into spirituality and your podcast, and some of the deep trails of rabbit holes you've gone down.
Oh man, that's a huge question.
We've got an hour.
I mean, I started getting into spirituality at a young age. I would say I was about 10 years old, and I saw my mom get a tarot reading from somebody, some aunt or something in Pennsylvania, and I got really interested in the tarot cards from there on. And my mom had bought me like a deck of cards and a book. But what I really remember about that book is the last chapter of the book was on Kabbalah, and for some reason, when I read that chapter, like something really clicked inside of me. Something said like this is the truth, not all the stuff that I've been learning in CCD class. Like this is like the truth. And ever since then, like that has started like my spiritual journey into like things that are hermetic or occult and tarot oriented. And then so that's always been sort of like a pastime of mine, like pretty much my entire life. Not necessarily what I did, as a career or anything like that. Um, but it was just a interest. And then I'll say like later on, I used to always, it sounds egotistical, but I've always considered myself well read. And I had one day I was like, I've never read a book by the Dalai Lama. So I picked up a book by the Dalai Lama called, um, I think it's called How to See Yourself as You Really Are, or something like that. And it really made me interested in meditation and Buddhism and things like that. Um, and I was fortunate enough to live in an area where there were some meditation teachers and some Buddhist monks. And so I went down that road for a while. And, uh, and then, I had moved, COVID hit, and all that happened. And when that happened, I had a seizure. It was like an epileptic seizure, and I had like this near death experience. And then after the near death experience, things really changed for me, and that's when I started the podcast. And here I am.
If I can ask, that's amazing. What happened in your NDE? What experience did you have, if you don't mind me asking?
It's hard to describe an NDE because we can only describe them in the way that we would experience them with the five senses and through our own language. And a real, like the NDE, sort of for me, transcends all that. I can only describe it as a feeling or an emotion of absolute peace. Like everything is okay, there's nothing to worry about. It definitely feels like it's outside of time or that time is very different. And when I came out of the NDE, I was disappointed, you know. And like one of the other funny things that happened to me was about a week later, and I think this is where the whole timeline thing comes into play. About a week later, I received a book in the mail from Oxford University called Time Paradoxes, and the receipt of the book was dated 6 months into the future. So I had taken a picture of the book and the receipt and posted it on my Facebook timeline, of the date that I actually received it. So you can see that I received it on such and such date, and that the receipt said something else, just to prove that it actually happened.
Interesting.
But one of my theories behind that, or ideas of what may have happened, is that maybe during my near death experience, I had entered into a future version of myself that maybe was at Oxford University, who knows, maybe doing time research or something, and found a way to send myself a book through time.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. All I love that kind of thing, and I'm I think, well, let me put it this way: I got back from the States. I was in the States. I don't know where you are. I assume you're in the States,
Yeah, I'm in
Gary.
New Jersey, not far from New York.
Okay. Yeah. When I was over, and anybody that tells me that time travel is not real needs to travel longer than 5 hours on a plane because the jet lag told me different. Uh, and I just think like the concept, our concept of time is really fascinating. And, I hear some people say it's a human construct; it doesn't actually exist. But how would you? It's a massive question, and it's a how would you define how we perceive time? I mean, is it
So,
linear? Is it moving forwards?
I'm gonna any questions that I answer, I'm gonna do it with the caveat of I can change my mind at any time
Me
about any
too.
of my answers
Yeah.
because the information changes, and sometimes just simply my perspective will change in the middle of giving an answer.
Mm.
So, and so I look at these type of topics like in a very fluid way. But as best as I can answer is that time is a container. Space and time are a container that hold our um. Now, when I say a container, I think there's almost like a rule, some kind of mathematical or geometric rules that we follow in order to perceive reality the way we do in a 3D form, in a way where matter actually seems real. Like this table seems, it feels real, but we all know that 99.99% of it is not real. So I think time and space are like a compactor, like we're like compressed into a zip file almost, and that's what makes it seem real. I don't know if that makes sense, but
So, people, can you guys hear? Uh-oh. Can you hear me? I can't hear Craig.
yeah, I don't hear Craig anymore either.
Um, unmute. Okay, Craig. There you go. We can hear you now.
Okay.
You got
Okay.
you got muted somehow.
Yeah. I probably went to the future and did it for a laugh.
I've had some weird stuff happen to you where it's just perplexed me. One time and I don't know if I told you this, Craig, but one time I had come home and there was a message on my answer machine that said, hey, call me. We need to finish this conversation. Blah blah. Blah. Can you hear me? I hope you guys can hear me.
Yeah. Keep
Okay.
going. Keep going. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and they called 4 times, and finally my daughter was like, "Are you gonna lady back? She keeps calling." And I was like, "Well, I don't know who she is, and she keeps saying that we were talking, and I don't remember talking to her, and I think she has the wrong number, and I don't want to embarrass her. So I was just gonna thinking that she would stop. Apparently, I'm gonna have to call her. I call her, and basically she goes on and on about how she had seen me in Tennessee the weekend before, and we had this full on conversation. I was there with Ian Clayton and some other people apparently, and I was in Montana again. I was living in a different place. She just kept on saying, no, I talked to you. You're a naturopath, right? You have blonde hair, da 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 da. And I kept saying, 100% that's me. And also, no, I was in Montana that weekend. And so she says, I said, what did she look like? And she's like, she looked like you because she was you. She even had a card that I had given her my business card, and I had my office number on there at the time, but I had even given her like my cell number, which I never give out, and it was in my writing. And I was just like, at the moment I was actually doing that, I had one of those what do you call it when you have like letters from a word and then you write out something, gosh, you know what I'm talking about, where like
anagram.
An anagram.
oh yeah, okay, so I was doing love, right? And I had the vibration energy, have L, I was looking for O, and I was doing that all the time talking to this lady. And I had even sent like a group text to my friend, hey, can you something kind of energy? And some people, oh, oil, like, no, not that. And anyway, she just keeps arguing with me that it was me. And all of a sudden I hear, am I inside omnipresent? And I was like, oh, and and I wrote omnipresent, and then I just told the lady, okay, you know what? I mean, it was like, well, how can I help you? Well, I just needed just telling me about the situation. Da, da, da. Went with it. I helped tell her what to do with her daughter, and she was fine, and her daughter got better, and everything was fine. So I don't know how that works. I don't know how I did that. And also, somehow it served some purpose to this lady that she saw. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. I don't know. I've heard of this kind of considered timeline crossing or like what is?
I think she's frozen. You froze there, Sean, for a second. It's okay, you're back.
Oh, I'm back. I was like, I don't even know what that is. Like,
Yeah.
I guess is that a timeline thing, or is that a manifestation thing, or is that a?
Oh, I mean, like if you kind of follow like what I believe, all these unexplainable things can be traced back sort of to the same thing, which is the way reality works. And in a lot of ways, like the way I think reality works is more like a holographic type of model. But like when I mentioned that container of space and time, I think that container of space and time is filled with information, and the information is what's omnipresent. It's everywhere, all the time, and it is everything. And then what happens is somehow consciousness enters the container, and then once consciousness enters the container, it experiences these different bits of information as reality. But since everything already exists everywhere at any time, there's tons of room for all kinds of anomalous fun things to happen.
And would you say it's related to our consciousness, as in our thought life, our state of being, um, that we have the capacity to, um, I don't blur time or transcend it or manipulate it even.
Mhm.
Do you think we have that possess that ability, and we're kind of reawakening to that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think we have unlimited capacity to do whatever we want because we have free will. At least we have free will within this container of space and time.
Mm. Mm. Because in the community we talk. There's a lot of talk of timelines, and um, I don't know where you stand politically, and I don't need to get into that. But like a lot of people say that we've been in a timeline war. Who controls the timeline? And there's been this war and this tussle for control, effectively.
Hmm.
Um, Now, I think that on a collective level, I think there is truth to that. But ultimately, I think we control our own timelines. And the choices we make have a drastic effect. I can't remember who it was that said. I think it's some famous scientist. You might know, Charnel, that we make something, a ridiculous amount of choices every single day, like
Hmm.
tens of thousands of choices a day. Every choice, from the biggest to the smallest, defines what timeline we're on. And whatever choice we make, we're constantly shifting all the time. And when we become conscious of this, we can literally we can begin to, and we start to live from a higher state of being, we become aware of our ability to do this, we will start to understand the effect our choice has on our lived existence. Have you any sort of thoughts on that kind of train of thinking?
Absolutely. Like you mentioned a key thing, like why there's no point in having free will if we're not going to make choices.
Right,
And obviously, so obviously the choices that we make a difference. Otherwise, we wouldn't have be put in this situation or have put ourselves into this situation, or however this awareness of this reality came all about. But yeah, I completely agree that I think my own personal experiences, like my life keeps playing over and over and over again, each time offering me an opportunity to make different choices. And each time, I try to make the better choices and be a better human.
right, right,
We're trying to, I think that's one of the purposes of our existence is we're kind of like a refinement of energy, just like plants refine oxygen and carbon and things like that. We refine spiritual energy.
right, right. Have you anything to add, Sean? I love, or can you hear us?
I'm here.
Oh, you're there. Okay. Sorry, I can't tell. Have you anything to add on that, Sean? No?
Yeah. Yeah. Word of manifestations play into it when you're talking about free will,
Mm.
like creating what we choose, creating by default, accidentally, how does it come into play with free will?
So I guess first you have to define what is manifestation. And manifestation to me is the lens that we perceive our reality through, the paradigm that we decide to look at. Because when we choose our reality, you're choosing everything, you know. And I think most of us have been brought up to choose a reality that was programmed into us as children through education, through
Right,
government, through religion, through parents, through corporations. It was just, you know, we were just programmed almost into being completely unaware of the true value of our human lives, I think. So like one of our, and I think it's one of the most difficult things is to kind of accept that we've been told all these things to control us,
right,
and once you get past that, um, you can start looking at reality from different paradigms. Because first you got to get out of the old paradigm before you can start moving into new ones. And once you start getting that flexibility of being able to look at the world through different windows and different doors and from different perspectives, we kind of stay stuck. But once we learn how to do that, that's all it really takes to do any type of manifestation is to move your position of how you're perceiving the reality.
right, right. Yeah, that's really good. I think for me, there's an elephant in the room here. Um, that like, and I'm really fascinated with it. I mean, I hold any kind of belief, loosely. Um, but the concept of simulation theory, which I assume you understand what that means.
Yes. Hmm.
That this reality is a simulation, and we kind of have to learn the rules of the game. That's kind of what this life is about, almost.
Right.
That there are entities or entity, whatever you want to call it, that's kind of like running the program, and it's like we're here learning the rules, learning the how to live, and that this reality is, I don't want to say false, but it's changeable, very very changeable based on us effectively. And all this self, getting better in ourselves, progression, getting over our traumas and healing and all that kind of stuff is positioning us into a place where we will more positively affect our own personal individual timeline.
Hmm.
So oftentimes we come into a place where we're like, we're faced with like a massive choice, like, one choice, I can go that way or I can go that way. And like, do you see that any way is a wrong choice, that there's such a thing as a wrong way to go? Or do you think, what do you think about that?
No, there is no wrong way to go. Like,
Right,
because I mentioned earlier, like just from my own personal experience in life. Now, I don't know if this is true of you guys, but sometimes my life seems to be a little bit of a repetitive pattern with the same
right.
choices over and over again.
Hmm.
So sometimes I get did not necessarily make a right or wrong choice, but I have the opportunity to make different choices to see what happens, what's down that road, and see what new choices that choice brings.
Mm, mm. Makes a lot of
What
sense.
about
Yeah.
you? Do you guys think that you know, you only get one choice? Or do you think that life keeps playing over and over again to give us the same choice over and over again?
It's interesting because I guess for me, in the past, I've thought, you have a set timeline. I guess we could call it. We could call it destiny, and everything's pre-decided, and everything that happens. Well, this must have been pre-decided. I'm not some. I don't think it's that cut and dry anymore. I think, like you say, we're in a free will dimension here. I think ultimately, if we stay moving forward, we will get there. Um, but I think we have to be active participants in our existence. We're
Hmm.
not just sitting back and letting things happen, so to speak. Like we're actively walking and moving forward, and we have to make our choices
Hmm.
as best we know how in the moment. And I love the idea that you know there is no actual negative choice, but if you choose that path, okay, we'll go down there. Oh, you've learned a bad lesson. Well, it's going to bring you this way now, and ultimately you can go like this, but we'll get there. And again, we'll get where we're going. I mean, where we're going is open for debate. That's another big question.
Yeah.
Have any thoughts on that, Sean, at all?
Yeah, I think it's a bit of both,
Mm,
really. I mean, there. Well, first of all, there. Let me say it differently. There is no right or wrong. Like
mm,
bad, good. The polarity of that is just weird. And yeah, I guess there's evil, and evil can serve its purpose for light and be a catalyst for change and awareness. I just talked to a girl this morning who lost her daughter a year ago, and it sent her down this whole path to spirituality. Gary had his NDE, and that like opened up a whole thing for podcasts and for open up, new ideas and whatever. But I think I agree that in my mind, I sent like maybe it was a program of like church stuff that we came from, Craig, but
mm,
in my mind, in the past, I sort of thought like, oh, we have this certain call and destiny, and we're gonna get to this place of whatever we're gonna be doing. And now I sort of, calculating with the GPS. It's like, yeah, you could take this road over here and try that, and then recalculating, we're going to go over here a little bit, and some of my best lessons have been making the quote wrong choice. But is it a wrong choice? You know what I
yeah.
mean? Because I've been married a couple times. Would I take it back? No, because I have my kids out of that, and would take one of you know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, I learned a lot through the choices that weren't so fun and easy. Um, and it's helped me trust my intuition a little bit too, more, because when I have screwed up, whatever that is, when it wasn't fun because of a choice that I made and I had to have consequences from that, and or results from that, I should say. Um, there were parts where I was about to go that way, and it was like I was screaming, "No, don't do that!" But I still did, and it's like, so then I asked myself, well, why did I do that? Well, maybe I didn't want to look bad, or maybe this and that. So all these things I've learned, like when that comes up again, and I'm faced with a similar choice or a different choice, like when that gut comes up and it's like, no, don't do that. I'll those memories. Yeah, remember that, and good, and you didn't like that. That was super sucky. So I'm here. Maybe I'll just feeling this one out and see what else comes. And the more I practice that, I guess the more confident I get in listening to that voice. And it can still be wrong. And sometimes I've taken choices that I'm like, I don't even know why and I don't know why I did that, but that's what I did. And but it's all learning, right? It's all remembering and just being part of human. I don't know. What do you think, Gary?
I think it's something to play a game with.
Right.
I really kind of this is sort of a recent thing for me. Like is like far as like trusting my own intuition and looking at my choices and what other choices do you go to. I've sort of taken on, I think now as a game. I say, okay, I'm going to see what happens if I do this, or I'm going to see what happens. And sometimes, like a lot of times, like those, I'll try to choose like one of the most ridiculous things that really normally would not be the choice and try it. And oddly, sometimes those things work out. Like the things that just don't seem realistic. I'll try those things and I'll get like very surprising results. So one of the things that does teach me also is that the choices that I think are my best choices aren't always my best choices, because sometimes the choices that I think are the strangest or the ones that don't make the least sense actually sometimes end up being the ones that give me the best results.
Right.
So it again it has to do with um, perspective, trying not to look at things through the database of my past and not through the database of what's been taught to me, and trying to go with just the gut, which is a hard thing to do. It's really hard to just trust that. But by doing it with simple things, like I lose my keys all the time, you know. So I make a game out of it. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna calm down and I'm gonna focus and I'm gonna go wherever my little voice in my head tells me to go to find my keys. More often than not, it's right. I have to give it like at least a 75% chance of being right when I just play that little game. Or I'll do it like with maybe telepathy. All right, I'm going to try to read this person's mind,
Mm-hmm.
and just play these little games with I don't know, like with like metaphysics and things. And to me, that shows me that reality is way more than what we think it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No,
And we
absolutely.
have way more choices than what we think because I'm just not seeing it all.
That's it. We can only go with where we're at the time, can't we? But then, obviously, we're dealing with the idea of miracles as well here as well. I mean, I've heard it said so many times, and I guess a lot of us have experienced this, that when we make a choice, certainly a drastic choice, and we set off on a say another timeline or something, it's almost as if like something magic is activated. It's like, okay, you've chosen that, boom, 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 things will just open up, you know, new opportunities, even new resources, finance, things like that. Um, and in that regard, I guess you could say, oh, that was the right choice. But then you think, well, if I chose that, would that have happened anyway? And we'll never know. It's like the Matrix sometimes, it's just like a bit mind bending, Um, but like with regards to sort of miracles, and was it Carl Jung that coined the term synchronicity? Um,
Mhm.
have you any thoughts on like what synchronicities are when we have those weird things happen? Like, how did that come together? Like, it was almost a miracle, how things come together for us. Like, why
Mhm.
do you think that happened? Big question, I know.
I wonder that too. Like one of the things I recently did was I started kind of like writing an autobiography, and I started out by writing all those synchronicities. I'm like, these are too many to be random, you know.
Yeah.
So what are the Easter eggs that I threw into this reality before I decided to come into it to keep reminding myself of what this really is? I mean, that's one possibility. Um, are they just a natural part of this reality where certain things can join together? Are the manifestations of my own mind creating the reality? All the above, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. All of the above. Yeah. 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 What about you, Sean? Can you hearing us okay?
Yeah, yeah, no, it's I think it's the whole I like the game concept that Gary was talking about because I'm learning, remembering more to have fun with it instead
Mm.
of serious about it. Obviously there's times when there has to be some serious choices, with especially if I'm dealing with a patient and they're You don't want to make a mistake, tell them to do the wrong thing or whatever, or, but, um, but yeah, when it comes to myself and my own choices, sometimes I can get stuck and I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I will muscle test and I'll pendulum swing and I'll ask for signs. And it's like, what do you guys do when you don't know what to do? Like, what, I'm curious what y'all do, because I've learned that I can like keep my pendulum power someone else to do it for me. I'm a little bit. What do y'all do? Decision.
Do you want to repeat that last sort of like 10 seconds? It broke up quite a bit there. We didn't hear it properly.
Oh, no, I was saying, what do you guys do to make a decision? Because I realized my willpower tried muscle testing and like the pendulum, unless someone else does it on the outside. But just, I mean, do you do tarot? Do you roll dice, like flip a coin? Like what?
Well, we do have free will.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I would say, like for me anyway, there was most of my life I spent basing my decisions on the positive column negative column technique. But now, truthfully, I've done the pendulums and the tarot cards and talking to psychics and all of that. My current method now, instead of doing it that way, I just ask now. I ask the universe to put me in the right place at the right time and to show me what to do.
Right.
And I try to step out of the way. Actually, sometimes it's that ego. The ego. I
Yeah.
gotta get my ego out of the way.
Right.
And when I do that, I can see things that I can't see when I'm looking through that lens of my ego, and then the choices become very obvious.
Yeah, I absolutely connect with that as well. I was with a guy called Justin Abraham recently, and we were talking along these lines. He talks a lot about timelines and things, and he was sort of like advising, like, if you've got a big choice to make or something, he says, just sit with it. He says, get still and sit with it and visualize both options. And he says, one of them, or, will feel like, oh, that's the one, joy. You'll get a joy on it. And then you'll think about another one, and it'll be like a ooh, like a just a bit of a knot inside, and it's like you've got this inner guidance system. Um, and again, even I think when we don't make wrong choices, but if we make a choice that isn't for our best, I think it's often through mental programming, like you said before, Gary. Like education and programs, religious programming will make us go a certain way because it thinks, oh, I should do this as like some sort of moral code or something like that. And that's not necessarily wrong. It's just we might not choose our highest in that regard. But if you just sit with it and get in your heart space and feel it out, basically, I'm trying to practice that now, with things and just finding that peace, and like you say, get the ego out of the way, because the ego goes, oh, I need to be in control, and it's all down to me. But when there's that act of, surrender to a higher power, whatever that means to you, now I'd call it God, when you surrender to that, then you can be at rest and go, okay, I'm in a loving environment. I'm loved intently by God and by everything that's around me. I'm in a safe place of love. And I trust, like a surrender, a trust. And I think when you're in that place, you're ready to receive the direction. That's my opinion and experience.
I agree completely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I think I get what you're saying about the ego getting in the way too, because sometimes people, and including myself, have done things because it's like it's the right thing to do, or you'll be looked at as in good light for doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it's not, you're doing something that's more mainstream, so yeah, it's acceptable amongst friends or whatever. But I've been faced where that intuition was telling me to do something completely opposite of what everyone else was doing, like pretty normal. And it takes a lot of courage to just do it anyway and be like, no, this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm so sorry that you're upset about that, that you think that I should be doing something else. Like that's always mind boggling to me. You know, I get if it's like a real good friend or a family member, which I've had to face that too. I stepped out of going to church and doing some of that kind of stuff. And Craig and I both left that organization, and we got a lot of heat for it. You know, even when I went to be a naturopath, I got a lot of questions, and people are, "Oh my God, you're leaving the ministry. You're a witch," you know.
And you still get them.
Yeah, and they literally said I was in witchcraft, you know, and weird stuff like that. And it's like, no, actually, it was a big wave of negativity in the way I received it at the time, anyway. And now I kind of I still get stuff every now and then. They'll show Craig, and I'll be like, look at this person said, and it's kind of humorous a little bit. But I went to Paris. I've been to Paris a few times, and I always think about this. The guy who made the Eiffel Tower, his name was Eiffel, and they thought he was nuts. They just thought he was the craziest person for building that Eiffel Tower, and they ended up using it in the war, like for radiation, like radio frequencies and stuff. And it's one of the most celebrated, iconic, like things of all time, you know, for the whole world to go see. And like, it's just this beautiful, you know, I don't know, worldwide thing. And they all just gave him shit about it. You know, it's like, so who knows? Maybe the thing that you're supposed to do is the thing that will give you a little shit for a little, and then it'll turn out to be the best thing ever. So can you imagine that, you know, build this, whatever it is? I mean, it's not a building. It doesn't have a whole lot of use, really. Useful, but just to make something big, you know, sure.
Just say that last like 15 seconds again, Charnel, if you won't mind. Sorry.
This is so annoying. No, I'm just saying, imagine the pressure that he had building this enormous thing. I'm like, actually, I have it right here. I keep it here all the time. I mean, it's gorgeous, right? But it had no use at the time. And later they did use it for frequency, but it was just a pretty thing. And it was a ginormous, expensive, really pretty thing. But he thought that this was what he was supposed to do, and that's what he did. So sometimes it isn't what everyone thinks we should do. It's something completely out of the box that no one's done yet. I mean, the best inventors and, you know, leaders of our world have done crazy weird things that no one's ever done before. But who are we to say that's right or wrong?
Right. Yeah.
Right.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I just thinking like, yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like, it's one of my absolute pet hates, if I can say that, is the normal, expected, monotonous life of born, get an education, go to work, retire, and die. Like, the thought of that is just pure misery to me. You know,
well,
like
it's hard to give up.
yeah, it's just like, what's the point? You know, and it's like, it's almost celebrated if you achieve that in a successful way. And again, I'm not, if that's someone's chosen life, I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying, for me personally, I've always been like, you know, I used to walk my dogs, and just, you know, every Sunday afternoon, somebody would be cleaning the car and mowing the lawn because that's what you did on a Sunday. And I was just like, this is hell. You know what I mean? Like, it's horrible to me. Like, I, you know, to me, I want to live a life of adventure and you know, exploration and higher thoughts and conversations, good company, that sort of thing. That's life to me, you know. Not that you can't have those things in that system, but just something about that system has just irked me like forever. But ultimately, you know, that's the expected norm, and people, like, there's a societal pressure that that's the honourable thing to do, you know. And then some people will break that, and they will be criticised for it. That, you know, external pressures will be saying, no, this is what you should be doing. That's what you should be doing. And who are we to say that to anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
And I think when we make these choices for ourselves, we can often be breaking a program, an expected norm. And I'd love to ask you, Gary, like, have you ever had like a time in your life when you just made like the biggest choice, and it was like, I don't know why, I've just got to follow this path. I mean, obviously your NDE was pretty much like that, but almost did that happen to you, or what choices did you have to make after that?
Well, after the NDE is where the podcast was born. Like one day it was COVID and I was taking a shower, and I like to play music, and I've always had I've always needed a creative outlet. And around 2019 anyway, podcasting was popular, so I decided to start it. And at the time it was called Everything Imaginable. And it did pretty well for a while. And so like that was just an idea that it just popped into my head. It wasn't like my own idea. And that's kind of what happens to me a lot with my best ideas. It's not like I'm the one thinking of them. They just entered the mind. And like you mentioned, like the Eiffel Tower, um, like a lot of built architecture and art and inventions and things like that are inspired by just random ideas that these people open up to another realm of consciousness. The guys like Einstein and Tesla and Da Vinci, you know, genius isn't necessarily something that happens in the gray matter. I think genius is as something with actually opening up to another frequency of information.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting. How do you fine tune that though? Like that inner voice or those ideas to just land, or how do you tap into
I
those?
think that's something that people you have to experiment with it. Like let's say like looking at things like a game. Because obviously I don't think there's one way it's going to work for everybody. I think for some people meditation will work. Other people like maybe walking will work. For other people it might be plant medicine. For some people it might be some type of ritualistic um, thing or way of connecting. So it's certainly different, I think, for all people. Not everybody's going to connect through the same method. And I also don't think necessarily everybody connects to the same thing either.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, some people might be more artistic and some people more science or whatever. Yeah. And we're also diverse.
Hmm.
What do you do, Craig, to hone in that inner voice so you know what to do?
Practically, I think I as often as I can in the morning, like my quiet time in the morning is really like special to me. It can just be half an hour. Just I'll make a coffee and just get still. Um, I'll, practicing meditation. Not that I'm by any means an expert or anything like that, but like just that focused on your inner world. And I like how we keep saying like it is a game. This life it is a game, and we should be playing it. We should be having fun playing it.
Hmm.
You know, and I think certainly I can take myself far too seriously sometimes. And we're here to enjoy life. We're here to learn, and that's kind of what I look for. Like, where's the fun? Where's the joy? Where's the playfulness? And sometimes there are hard decisions to be made in life to maintain that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I guess on a practical level, just centering is I think what it's called, isn't it? You take some time in the morning just to center, and then you kind of set up for the day. Like, I mean, you're in and out. Life can be busy, and I can't remember who said it, but like, life is one of the most stubborn illusions. This realm, I guess, just the monotony and the the needs. We need to go shopping. We need to, people have to work, and we need to make money and things like that. But I almost think that that's how the game is designed. Like, how can we overcome that? How can we use it for us rather than it using us and us feeding the system, if that makes sense? And that's yeah. So I guess just for me, being centered in my heart space and listening, always listening, like for that word. It can be, and it can come through anything or anyone. It could be I listen to podcasts myself. It could be a conversation. It could be, a song on the radio where there'll be, there's a message there, there's a key there for me. Just always having that openness to listen. There's always guidance coming to us, and always things coming to us all the time. So yeah, just having an open mind and heart, really, for me.
Right, paying attention.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
it's really big. Like that's one of the things. Like you're asking, like what do I do? Like when sometimes I'll just ask out to the universe. Just I'll ask for something, and then
Mm,
afterwards, I just pay attention and look
mm,
for it.
mm. Yeah,
And usually pretty quickly I get responses.
right.
So to me, it's almost like the reality itself is alive. It's inorganic.
Mm,
It is.
it is. I
It's,
like that. It is organic. Yeah.
I'm curious if those guys listening, you guys do, or to tap into that inner guide. And also, if you have any questions for Gary, feel free to like put them in here. I see Melody and Ellen's on here. Denise is talking about angels and connecting with angels and
Yep.
spirit guides. What are your thoughts,
Oh,
I'm gonna
Gary?
guess. I'm gonna guess that the question was, "What are my thoughts on angels and spirit guides?"
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. We were using telepathy now, so you said, "What are your
Yes.
thoughts?" And then you broke up, but he heard the question
Ah,
anyway.
so sorry. This
Just
is
don't worry. Don't worry.
I believe in them. Maybe. I mean, that's what people perceive. That's what we perceive through our five senses. And that's how they communicate to us in a way that we can understand, or that's how a higher intelligence or a higher vibratory being is communicating to us in a way that we can understand. I mean, is that literally what they are? Like with those names and what we're perceiving with our eyes, like light beings and things like that. I really don't know because I think our ability to perceive things is pretty limited. At least until we open up more. But yeah, I believe that there are all kinds of beings and energies and thought forms and ancestors. It's you ask for help. Like I say, it responds. I don't know, like if it's any of the names that we call them, but
Mm.
something definitely responds.
Some, I think there's a lot more out there than we ever realize. There's a lot more here than we ever realize because, like you say, we've been so shackled into a three-dimensional existence, and I love the idea that the next world is just a breath away. It's literally it is so close to us. You know.
So why do you think we were shackled into this?
Oh,
You know, almost like a robotic type of slavery.
right.
Why do you think this happened?
Wow. Okay. we talk about, we're just spoken about entities and, guides, and I love all that kind of stuff, and I love the angelic, absolutely love the angelic. But I think there have been, I'll say negative things that have come in, and have deprogrammed us out of our natural abilities.
Hmm.
Um, and like conversations like this, we're actually remembering, we're rediscovering what we're capable of, and what we can do, what we can tap into, and things that are happening cosmically. There's a huge story going out there, and it's activating us in our kind of senses, our abilities. Like Charnel said, like, was she in two places at one time? Was she bilocating? This woman saw her in, I can't remember where she said, Mississippi, was it? Um,
Tennessee.
Tennessee, another big word. In Tennessee, was she there and the other place at the same time? I think when we begin to kind of like think like we are and begin to act accordingly, we're going to start. These things are going to start becoming fairly normal. But yeah, I do think we've been actively suppressed through. I guess some people call it the matrix. Education, finances, banking system, society. It's been created, whether it be malevolently or benevolently, I don't know. You know, to contain us and to stop us from being who and what we are. I think many of us have kind of chosen to come here to within ourselves break that, but by doing so, there's like a ripple effect, and it will affect those around us. Um, and yeah, I guess for me, it's just remembering to have fun. We talk about the prison planet and the slave system. I think when we just get to the simplicity of joy and happiness and contentment and all the good stuff, we access it naturally, like it's a natural progression um, into the fun stuff. The supernatural. So we will start to see into these other realms and things that I believe are all around us right now. They're probably listening into this conversation, going, "Yay, they're getting it!" I fully believe that. But what about you, Charnel?
I hope you can hear me. Yeah, the whole prison, yes, but also isn't that another, could be a program that could
Right.
be someone else's reality, but not necessarily in our individual reality. And so I look at it almost like turning the channel on the TV. It's like, yeah, not that. I want to watch something more fun and easy and create whatever I choose for my time and my season. And I haven't always thought that way, but the older that I get, or maybe the more experience that I've had, I've longed for more fun and more ease and
Yeah.
tapping into my own creative abilities to just set my own schedule and set my own, and what, and to put the ego aside, because practice has told me when I did what I thought I was supposed to do, it turned out for me. And and paying attention to that and trusting that gut as much as possible through experience. And even when it was like really important people to me, important people that looked down at whatever I was doing, or questioned me, I always find it so interesting when that happens, and then sitting with the facing of the choices and then making those choices. But what's even more fascinating to me is the social media component now, where everyone thinks they have an opinion about everybody and everything. And then and then yeah, and they know what's best for me and you and you could post something or whatever, and they'll sit behind their recliner and sit in their recliner couch potato, kind of try to coach you. And it's like, I don't even know who you are, bro. Like, and just trying to get over that part of annoyance of it. It's like, or is it me using them to make sure I really believe what I believe? Like, is it just me pushed out to annoy me to see if I'm going to really stand up in what I believe, or if I'm going to be upset and go like, okay, never mind. It's like, I don't know. We test ourselves, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our biggest critics, aren't we? Our own judges, I guess, in that respect. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like me too. Like if somebody leaves like a negative comment on something I've done or something, it's really me that's being still the final critic of what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. And say, I think that's judgment. That's another big one to talk about. Like, there's we again, Sean and I come from the church background, where it was almost that God is judging literally everything we do according to what's good and what's bad. But that brings us back to the whole choice thing. We make a choice in our life. Do we honestly think if there is this benevolent God or being or universe out there, that we make a wrong choice, which I don't think there is a wrong choice. We can make choices that lead us on a negative path, but it will always teach us. There'll always be a way into where we're headed, I think. And this idea that you made a bad choice there, bang, I'm going to make you suffer with negative circumstances. I don't think it works like that. I mean, I believe in a God of love, a God that protects us and that keeps us. It's like a parent. If one of my children makes a poor choice, I'm not going to be saying, "Ha, serves you right." I'm going to be right there in with them, walking them through it and out of it. And that's the way I view it. But through that, they will learn. Well, it's all a learning process.
Yeah, I look at it as like if there's a God, like he's probably kind of like an author. Like I always kind of think of it as the universe is experiencing itself through its own creation. So the only way the universe can do that is to have a dream, and then maybe that dream forgets it's having a dream, and that creates this illusion of reality. And so, but in the end, we're all part of that dream, and what that dream really is all these infinite stories that this source can create. And every once in a while, it's like, ooh, that's a bad story over here, but I needed to have that bad story to have the good one. So, I think sometimes whatever's creating it, it has to do certain things that will get us to the other side and into other, it had to have resistance in order to create the strength, basically.
Right. I hear you.
Yes. Well, I enjoyed this conversation. It's been fun.
It's a
And
good one. It's a good one.
yeah, when you can hear it anyway. But yeah, tell us where people can find you and tell everyone about your podcast and when it is, and just would love to hear so people can find you and follow some of your cool guests. You've had a lot of really cool guests on your show.
Thanks. Well, my website is unitymanifest.com. You can find my podcast on all platforms, Unity Manifest Podcast. There's about 600 episodes. If you go back further, the episodes will say everything imaginable because I changed the name of it. Like I said, there's 600 episodes, all kinds of great guests, a lot of great content, and it's been a pleasure being here. Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. A great conversation. Thank you.
And yeah, you can find me at drcharnel.com. And also, if you're interested in doing a timeline map, we're going to do a workshop on Sunday from 3 to 5. And that information is on my Facebook page and my Instagram. But basically, we're going to get together and we're going to do a live workshop with whoever wants to hang out. We're going to talk about how we can map and create our own timeline 2025. But yeah, check that out. And where can we find you, Craig, besides going all the way to England?
Yeah. Say that again. It broke up a bit there. What about in England? Sorry.
Yeah, you're so far away in England. Oh my gosh.
I know, thousands of miles. But I'm coming back in May for the Journey to Truth conference. So if anybody's attending that, I'll see you there in Grafton, Illinois. Shameless plug there for my friends Aaron and Tyler. But yeah, no, like I say, I love these conversations. And what I loved was when I come over and we're all together, this is the conversations we're having, It's no shallow conversations with these people. And I absolutely adore it, I love it when we all get together and hang out. And we did it at New Year's, Charnel, and it's like, all right, we'll start off. How are you doing? And then it's like, so what do you think about multiple realities then? Kind of thing. And it's always a really good conversation. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, thank you for everyone who's watching. Be sure to hit the like, share. We're trying to get some inventory on who our guests are and where they are from. So if you guys can tell me who you are, what city, state, country you're at, I would love to hear that too. And thank you so much. We will see you next week. We got a lot of cool people coming up on our schedule, so stay tuned and definitely hit the follow, the subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. All right. Bye.
See you later.
Bye.